Hello, welcome to another episode of 177 Nations of Tasmania podcast. Migrants from the People's Republic of China make up Tasmania's largest non-English speaking migrant group, and there are still families in Tasmania who trace their ancestry back to Chinese migrants who came to Tasmania in the 19th century. So there's a long history of Chinese migration in Tasmania. For this podcast, I wanted to find a story that was a bit outside the usual stereotypes of Chinese migrants. So in this episode, I'm talking to Lili, who comes from the southernmost region of China. Growing up, her family didn't use Mandarin as the first language. Her father encouraged her to take her own road rather than follow the herd, and that road took her to study in Australia after she'd completed school. She pursued studies in psychology, and this eventually led to her return to China in an attempt to try and run a counselling service. The time wasn't quite right for such an enterprise, but while back in China, she met her future husband, who was from Australia, and that's ultimately what brought her and him to Tasmania's Huon Valley, looking for a different kind of lifestyle, growing vegetables and living sustainably. As well as this, we also talk about language, family, and what got her into social work and counselling here in Tasmania.
I grew up in mainland China, so the place called Guangxi province, which is in the quite south China, and our province just next to north border of Vietnam. And yeah, that's where I'm from. I grew up in a small city with 5 million people. But in China, they call it small city, very small. I was growing up in kind of bit mixed. I think I grew up with my grandmoms. They both have their house. It's like a flat, like a one level, but you have a garden inside and vegetable garden outside. And I kind of half time I grew stay with my parents. Then we live in a sort of an apartment, but because the building owned by our family, so we were lucky enough. And my mom loves garden, so she actually had a beautiful garden at the lower level. So I think I always kind of grow up with either gardens or vegetable gardens. Yeah, so that's the environment I grew up with. The strongest memory is always because all the kids in there, we don't have a supervision from parents. Mm-hmm. So normally grandparents, like my grandma always tell me like 12 o'clock is lunchtime. So make sure you come home at 12. So we just ran off with the neighbors, and so because it's a very communal. For some reason, I think when I was a kid, if I walk to somewhere else, people always know whose kid is this, I belongs to whom, and then we always go out with neighbors' kids. We jump into rivers, catch fish, and I can't swim, but sometimes we still kind of collect snails and shells, like a river shells, and I think. Jump into the river and catch fish is one of my favorite memory, and I still remember the water is so clean, and it's very shallow. Sometimes you just sit next to the river, just talking to all your friends until it's lunchtime, and then we all go home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the other memory I really like is every time during dinner time, the kids around my neighborhood, we will sit in this broken car, it's like a tricycle, like a broken tricycle. We all have a bowl of something, and then we will just kind of share the food our family cook for us. We all just talking, eating until it's all become dark. And at that time, I think on the street we don't have a street light, but we still talking. It's in the dark and eating. So I think when I think back, I think that's the community kind of memory that is always in me, and I really enjoyed those times as a kid. And I always tell the jokes that when I come home, even my grandmom's door's closed and I don't know where she went, I just went to my neighbor. My neighbor said, "Oh, have you had lunch or dinner?" So, "Oh, no, I haven't." They always just put another pair of chopsticks and have a bowl to make sure that I'm fed and also safe in the house. So it's always like that. And my grandma would do the same for other kids as well. It's like a invisible rules that everyone's kind of looking after for each other. Yeah, that is the part I really do miss as a community, that they're taking care of each other. and there's no other things they ask for return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that something that's changed nowadays in China?
I think it definitely changed. I start to see that even in my cousin's generation, because when computer introduced and computer games, all the kids intend to stay in the house more rather than go out and play. When I was a kid, we do have a TV, but that's not like a quite dominant thing. So we still go out. We have to kind of find things to make toys to play, and then you just kind of you will have a different roles in while you're making this toy, like who's doing the drawing, who's finding the materials. So that's a lot of teamwork going on. But that changed in my cousin's generation, because my grandma have 5 kids in China. In my hometown, normally parent will stay with sons. So that's I don't know, maybe it's tradition, not sure. But all her kids just stay probably 10 minutes away from her. And I remember when I was a kid, every Fridays they all just pop in to my grandmom's house, and because she normally will ask, anyone want to come and have a dinner? They will say, oh, we are not sure, but then they all turn up. Okay. So yeah, and it's like, oh my God, I don't have enough food. So Fridays, that will be, I always remember Fridays always very noisy in grandmom's house, just because all the cousins there, and my grandmom and with her kids, they're all just chatty. Actually, that's another of my favorite memories. Like every Fridays are very noisy in grandmom's house, and they live very close. So in my hometown, we speak Yulinghua, which is local dialect. It's very similar to Cantonese, but there's a difference, because the city I live in, we do a lot of business with people from Guangdong province, and for some reason we just pick up that language because of that communication through business, and then all the kids just pick it up naturally. So I speak local dialect and I speak Cantonese while kind of interact with other people, and also my parents are doing business. We have a lot of people from Guangdong province, so I kind of join my parents with some of the dinner parties, just kind of just pick up, and then I actually start to learn Mandarin when I go to school. So we speak local dialect Mandarin, Cantonese, and after that, I think when I was around 12, kind of English introduced to the school system, and then that's how I start to learn English. That's the 3 language. My grandmom originally is not from the city I'm leaving, so her family actually escaped from the war and moved from Guangdong region. So she lived in the very east coastal area. She speaks Hokkien, and so when she moved down to this region, I think she picked up the local dialect as well. But when she speaks to her family, she speaks Hokkien, which I don't understand. Okay. My parents both are business people. So they both selling construction materials when I was a kid. But before that, they had a lot of failed, business things. Okay. I remember when I was a kid, at some point, we got so many bananas in the house because they tried to sell bananas. And my mom told me the story that my dad used to get his big truck with a fridge at the back. So my uncle, my mom's brother, and my dad will spend a whole year, they will just drive, because that time in the 80s in China, if you want to get some fruit from southern China, it's quite difficult. So they just kind of put all the banana in the fridge. They just drive from our city all the way to the top north, like really north of China, right, and all the way come back. So it sometimes spent almost a whole year just to sell this banana. Oh, wow. Yeah, but there was one time that I think someone forgot to close the door of that fridge, and then we just lost so much money in that trip. And then my mom said then that business failed. So yeah, and I think they tried a few things, but they start from nothing, and I think they were lucky at that time. They think maybe we'll try this business, and I think the first year they already got quite successful at that time. So yeah, that's what my parents do. And then my grandparents, I think my grandfather in my mom's side, he's like construction builder for local council. Yeah, and then my grandmom, I tried to figure out what's her role, but she told me at some point she does 6 jobs in a day. Okay. Yeah, so she probably kind of because she got 5 kids, and at that time, because the structure of communist party is you produce with things and then you got a ticket for food or different things.
Okay.
I remember that our family got this role as like grow vegetables. So you grow vegetables. When you harvest, you exchange the vegetables with different things, and you got a little ticket. So I think there's no money involved, just a ticket. And so yeah, my grandmom's kind of does 6 jobs.
I know the sort of typical image of also Chinese parents is they really push their kids to get good grades at school. But I think you mentioned your parents were a little bit different in that way.
Yeah, I think in a way I was lucky. So my dad was in the army, so he was involved in the Vietnam War. So he's the one carried the secret map. He was very young at that time, and then I think when he came back, there was some issue going on, so they not identify or certify his experience.
Right.
So my dad was kind of got pushed out of the system, and then he started to work really hard for himself. His family is quite educated, and I think because of his experience, I think maybe for his generation, even with my mom, like, because as a female, if you dress very beautifully in the 80s, yeah, people will judge you as a female. But I remember my mom said to my dad, always said, you just wear what you like and you don't need to care about what they think, because they are not paid for it. I pay for it. So I remember he always said that. And my mom was like, okay, then I just be pretty. And once they have me, and I think when I went to school, they never very focused on how much I got for my grades. And my grandmom as well, I think we are not very focused on that part. I don't know if that for some reason my family just never. And when we have a dinners and lunch, we talk about lots of other things but grades.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why. Actually, that's a good question. Probably need to ask them. Yeah, so we never talk about grades. But I remember there was time that I'm a very interested in geography, because my granddad loved geography and history, so he always tells stories to his kids, and my mom got that, and she loved history and geography as well, and then she passed that to me, and I have a lot of interest in that. So and I remember some point interest in that, and then one of my, because they are not main subjects in China, they are like they call side subject, they're not important. And I remember my teacher actually talked to my mom to have a teacher-parent meeting, and kind of gently saying that I need to focus on more like main subject rather than the not important subject. And I was like, oh yeah, I know, yeah, noted. She came home, she said, oh, don't worry about what they said. You just do what you like. Okay. And then she said, if you know geography, when you travel, it just make your mind just different. And she said, when you know the history, you know the reasons why things happen now. And I always remember how she said, and she always have the book with a map, and then she would travel and then tell me the story about this place. And I always loved that, and I think I still have that in me. So yeah, that we never really into grades. But I know that at some point my mom did start to feel worried, because in China, if you heading to high school, if you don't pass the exam, you probably lost your opportunity to go to university. Right. It's only like a one-off chance. So I think at that time, my mom was a bit worried that I'm probably not able to achieve what the system expected. But then I think she found a new way, because at that time I saw this ad on the TV showing that how beautiful Western Australian looks like, and the university. And I just kind of discussed this with my mom. So I really feel like the school looks so beautiful. And then she think maybe go overseas. There will be more open and flexible with the way how I want to learn. Because in the Chinese system, maybe it's too restricted in a way. Yeah. And I know that my mom always kind of encouraged me, and my dad as well, just do what you like, and you don't have to achieve to a certain way. They just I know that they just want me to be happy. In the system we grew up with, and I think there's some good of that, you're disciplined. the students, right? I think that's some goods in it, but some bad in it. I just feel like probably students like lost their autonomy and their independent thoughts, and also question things that they might have a question with. So, and I think I really start to realize this when I moved to Australia. So I went to Monash University, and I remember I picked this minor subject, history politics. My professor at that time talking about gun law, and we all just talking about gun laws in America and in different country, and also let's assume that it's going to happen in Australia. So we all sit down, and he put us into different groups, and we just discuss about opinion. At the end, the class finished. I was devastated. Because there's no concrete answer. I was like, oh, why? And I just went to my professor. Like, so should we have a gun law or not? And he looked at me. There's no absolute answer. But what do you think? And I was like, blew my mind. It's like, yeah, what do I think? I never think in that way, because I always think I need to have an answer for something, and I think that's how we got brought up with. It's like you have an answer because your teacher teach you this is the answer. You memorize them. You memorize different things. So you lost that autonomy and the creativity in your brain, and then to think about certain things, to have your own opinion.
I wanted to ask you about your first experiences of coming to Australia, and you came for study. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
So where and when did that happen?
Oh, let me think. I think I came to Australia in 2004 or 5. So I first came to WA in Perth. I did my university foundation year in WA, and we got a big mix of students.
And so the foundation year, that's sort of the bridge between school and university.
Yes, yes. So, and I did that foundation year. So we have to do like accounting, economics, all I think 12 subjects we have to do, including English. You have to pass that as well. The reason I came to Australia, actually, I want to go to the University of Western Australia because the beautiful building. So I applied for different university. I think Curtin University and Monash University accepted me, but Western Australia University, they didn't accept me. So after I finished that 1 year foundation year, and I moved to Monash, Melbourne, to do my study. So I did Bachelor of Behavioural Science, major in psychology. My first semester, actually, I think I was registered in to do neuron psychology, I think. But because the words are very complicated, and I don't even understand what that means. But I was so interested in that. I think I dropped out at the end after first semester because basically I don't understand the context. I don't understand the textbooks. So the student consultant kind of suggested maybe we'll drop down a bit to do maybe behavioral science rather than very clinical things. And so I did that.
And what made you interested in that subject, and what made you choose it?
I'm really interested in that because I think early stage I never know that counselling is something I interest in. But when I think about do the subject, because in China, having a high grade, this is such important thing in a lot of kids. Even in the neighbourhood I lived in, there are few kids suicide because they haven't got the grade they want. And there's a particular one, just my cousin's neighbor, and I remember I saw her a few times. She was so little at that time, and when she always have a good grades until she get to this big exam, she lost it, and she just went up to the high building, just jump, and that really like broke my heart. So at that time, I think I really have this idea that I want to do psychology and maybe go home, have a little studio, just create this like a little space for young kids coming in to do counselling, to help them to understand grades is not everything. Grades is one part of life. If you can't achieve that one, maybe you can achieve different things. It's not just a one-way street. Yeah. So that's actually one of the reasons I want to do psychology, to have my little studio and working with young people who have that kind of challenge in my own culture. I look back as because of that I always kind of do things or think things in a different way, because I don't want to be in the norm. And I think in the norm is okay, but I don't want. And I remember my dad said, "Don't be a sheep."
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why he said, "Don't be a sheep. Yeah, be something."
So when you were nearing graduation or getting towards graduation, what were you thinking? What was your goal or ambition to do once you had your degree?
It's still the same goal, kind of back to my hometown and do the studio. Because my dad got cancer at that time, and unfortunately he passed away because we found out the cancer quite late, and he couldn't survive. And I think that paused a little bit, and I didn't do a lot. I think I just pick up whatever jobs available just to stay with my mum. And then after that, I still want to open this like a studio. But I think back then in China, counselling is something quite stigmatized in society. If you go to see a counsellor or psychologist, people would say, "Oh, you're crazy," and then so people would not go and see someone.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of label around that. And then my mom did say that you probably won't survive if you open, and probably no one comes because the social opinion about counseling, it's quite strong at that time. So I didn't do any about that. Then after that, I changed my mind. I kind of thinking maybe I can use a different way to approach this. So I was thinking about to open a little like a center. So this center has like a cooking class, English class, but more focused on parents engage with the kids. Maybe a little bit sounds like child and family centers in Tasmania. Mm-hmm. So it's like have a center and have a classes. So parents will come in, engage with the kids. So to me, if you kind of put a time in there, engage with them rather than just study, then you can actually kind of building a different kind of relationship for the parents and the kids. Yeah. So then when it comes to grades, maybe it's easier for kids to say things that they're scared of, saying. So that's why I kind of thinking have this idea. But then I never run a school before. So my mom said, you better need to go somewhere to learn how to be a teacher and how to run a business. So I went to this very touristy town. A lot of people from around the world, they go there to do rock climbing, kayaking. I think it was on the Lonely Planet. That's why it becomes so popular. Mm-hmm. So I went there to become an English teacher, and I tried to learn how they run schools. And I remember I really like some of my students because I don't like teaching them, just feed them with information. Yep. I like them to actually learn. So I remember there were every time when it's my class and all the kids still very young, 15, 16, and I look outside, the sun comes up, everyone get your chairs. Get chair to where? To the playground. I was like, to playground? Why? I was like, we're going to do our lesson in the playground. I was like, they all just like, bring your snacks. So everyone's sitting in the playground and have the snacks, and they learn, and we play games. They remember all the things I taught them. And I think that again, they kind of assure me that's actually, it should be the way to teach kids how to learn, and it's not to feed them information only and memorize things. It's just you really kill their creativity. But anyway, after I become an English teacher, I met my husband. And he's from Australia, and that's how we actually met. And so my project never start. That's in the middle of my project.
So how did you meet actually?
We met through our mutual friend. So my friend Leo, we used to do English class together. Okay. And so Leo never left the tourist town, and I think he resident in there permanently. So, and I just told him that, hey, this is my idea, I'm looking for something. So I was, oh yeah, come in, just like, yeah, I will introduce you to this principal, you can be a teacher with them. So that's how I start to be a teacher there. Then because I'm not very good at cooking. So my friend always call me, do you want to come out for lunch or dinner? I always say yes, of course, I don't need to cook. and I think there was one time that my friend invited me and invited his friends and for lunch. And only my husband turned up because other people's because they have their own business, they're running business. So my husband said, oh yeah, food. He loves food too. And then he just turned up. And then we all just kind of talking. And then he said a lot of dry jokes. And it's like, oh, so dry, but then it's kind of funny. So I kind of get his dry jokes. And then he kind of know, oh my God, you understand me. And then, and I think that's how we met. And then we I think one day, and then we went out just as friends, and we just talk about everything. We talk about our opinions about the universe, different dimensions, and aliens, and political views, and social problems, and gender equality, and then all those things. I was thinking, oh my God, like no one ever talked about this with me in China, but he was very open about this, and I think from those conversations, I think we start to talk about those issues from 12 o'clock till 6 o'clock. It's nonstop. And now we kind of know maybe our values are very similar. So, and he's not very typical kind of a, person would think female shouldn't be better than men. And he always say that you go do things and just pursue what you like. And or sometimes he would say that I think you're really good at this. You should give it a go. And he always have that encouragement in me. And if I'm doing better, and then he will just like praise me. So I think that gender equality is something probably in China I haven't seen that happen that much. So that was refreshed to me, because I'm kind of thinking if I'm married to a Chinese man, it's a very small chance I will get someone that is okay with the person I wanted to be and okay with it.
How long were you together in China, and when did you come to Australia?
So we were in China for maybe a year, and then we watch a lot of Matthew Evans, the gourmet farmer. Okay. You watch so much of it. And then we really like the lifestyle, because we both a little bit green. We want to support the sustainability of the environment, but we're very new with everything, because he grew up in the city. I grew up in the city. We literally don't have a lot of knowledge about growing and farming. And then after that, we decided to maybe, because he lived in China for so long, for 8 years. And I think that was the time for him to leave as well. And then I think if I want to do counselling, it's not going to happen at that time. But if we are together, maybe my project's not going to happen in my hometown, because that means that we have to compromise, or we have to, be in a different place. So that time I kind of paused that idea, and then just come to Australia with him. And then because of gourmet farmers in Tasmania, that's why we come down in Tasmania. And that's how we started. But initially my husband was a bit worried it's too remote for me, because I grew up with a very closed community with a lot of people, and it was going to be a big culture shock to me. It was a big culture shock to me, not a lot of people. So we did this little project called HelpX. So HelpX is something so a household will provide food and accommodation to you, and you will do some task for them to help. Could be anything. Mm-hmm. So we went to Houston, stay with this family, just came back from UK. So I dig weeds for three months in the paddock. And I think one day I kind of digging weeds, and I looked at the sky, it was so blue, and then I saw the sheep walking around. And for some reason, I just feel the happiness in my heart, and very warm. And I think, actually, maybe I quite like it here. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm totally against it, but it's something different. Maybe I do like this kind of quietness that I don't know, because I grew up with a lot of noise, and I thought I liked that. But maybe I quite like it. And I just turned around to my husband, I think we can move down here. He was so happy. So that's how we started. And we were lucky we got a property, and then down in Huon Valley. And then we start, to learn things, how to grow things. We overgrown a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Overgrown tomatoes or kill plants. We learn our lessons, but finally we learned some tricks how to survive some of the plants.
So a bit of trial and error.
Yes, definitely. No, we're not saying that we are perfect, but we learned some tricks.
Initially, at least, was it easy to get to know people in the community nearby, or did it feel a bit remote to start with?
That's a good question. I think was quite remote. First, when I first started living in here, not knowing anyone. I think, and also that time my husband changed his career, so he went to uni to do another degree, and I think that point I found finding job is very hard as well. So I went to different jobs. Like I'm happy to do anything, but then they would say either you're overqualified for the job or they're not wanting someone at the moment. So it's like I went to so many interviews and at the end just got nothing. I can't even get a job just like in a shop helping as well. Like they have a reason to, yeah. And I just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure I can survive because unemployment. But then I kind of thinking, I think at that time, I start to send a lot of resume to different places, and I send one to Mona, like, "Hey, are you looking for people?" Like I just kind of selling myself in a way, and then they say, "Oh yeah, we might looking for someone. Maybe you come in and we have a chat." And then that's how I start. I went to see them, and it was a very casual, and then I got a casual position with them. So I worked with them for a few years, but getting to a point, I just feel like maybe some part of me kind of calling. I still want to do something related to mental health.
So what were you doing at Mona? What was your role?
I was working in the gallery, and at times they put me at a reception as well. So do a bit reception, ticketing, yeah. So it's kind of moving around between that. But I think maybe as a visitor to Mona is great. It's cool, and even the building itself, it's interesting. But I guess when you work there, it's different. I think first couple of years was exciting for me, and also I learned so much about art and didn't know that I like art that much, and it's really opened my mind as well because it's quite confronted kind of art, but I like confrontation. So so I like confrontation. So I read, okay, that means okay, cool, okay. So I really like that, but then after a couple of years, I just feel like I need something. And I wasn't quite clear what I want at that time. But I did start to work a little bit with Lifeline Tasmania and start with, so they trained me up. So I've been in the helpline to do suicide prevention. And I think over times, and I just found really passionate about mental health, especially those times when you kind of on the phone, someone is in the action of suicide. You got that special moment you talk to them through, and talk them through, walked away from what they are doing, and then realized that they didn't actually want it. And to me, that's very special. And that's why I feel like that is something I still have passion with. And so after that, I did a few years with the Lifeline, and then I kind of talked to my husband, maybe I go back to uni, do psychology, and then maybe do this and that. But I think one of my husband's friends said, if you do psychology, only do this side of thing. But if you do social work, you can be, lots of things, because it sounds like the things you want to do more about social justice. I said, yeah. So I went to the information session in UTAS about social work. And I think that's my thing. And I register and I become a social worker. Yeah, I did another degree. When I do my placement, and definitely find myself really passionate in this systemic issues and barriers. So I did my first placement in child protection, case management team. A lot of issues going on there, and also a lot of disadvantaged kids, families. And then my second placement was in the prison, Risdom prison. Yeah, and when I work with them, you definitely see the cycle is going on there. And I just feel, I think one day I came home, I just feel so sad for them. And I feel like there's something need to be done. And this cycle just, because some of the family names, you can see them just going into different systems. Yeah, they just keep going, and their kids starting child protection, and then mental health, and then this and this. They just never get out of that system. And I just feel, and I think deep down just quite sad for them. And then I knew that this is the profession I want to go into. When I become a social worker, I left Lifeline Tasmania a few years ago to work solely just as a social worker in Tasmania Health Service. And then after that, and then I work for Sexual Assault Support Service as a counsellor for a few years. And I did find my passion in the counselling space as well, because the approach for social workers is quite different. Because like when I do counselling, I'm not really interested in the medical term about the person, like depression, anxiety, all these. Like I'm more interested in actually know the person, what kind of footsteps that they had in their life kind of bring them to today. And then I think that's the more holistic way to when I work with a person, and that's my social work kind of mindset. So, but after a few years with the SAS, I left. Now I returned to Tasmania Health Service. So I work in older persons mental health service, and on my part-time job, I work as counsellor to provide counselling in the local community. That's what I'm doing at the moment. So my mom come visit me almost every year. Okay. So, but she come down, I think just the Chinese parent. They have to come to visit with a mission. Okay. So they have to have a mission and a responsibility. Then they feel they're valued, which I kind of look back in that. It's just the how they've been brought up as a as a person. So if my mom come visit me, the mission is look after my little one. But then I think in their generation forgot because they grew up with very little things. So to them, practical things are so important. Make sure the child is fed and then warm, but those like a play, and she forgot that the play that is important too. So this year it's a bit of a learning lesson for her as well, learning curve, that she will look after my little one, but then she's fed and everything, but then she couldn't communicate, and my little one want to play, and then she said, and she doesn't know how to do the play. She always thinks that she's a little kid, but then my little one said, no, I don't want to play little kid one. I'm a bigger kid now. So I think now my mom have to go home. She have to think about how to engage. That's a good thing for us as well. I think she always have this open mind to readjust herself. Yeah, and I always tell her that she can be relaxed, because in her generation, they don't relax. They always clean the house, clean everything, do everything, and they will just constantly doing things. And then one day I have to go to the kitchen and hug her and move her all the way back to her room. I said, Mom, sit down, relax. But I have to do something. No, you don't have to do anything. I still love you. You can sit down and relax. Because I think it gets in her generation. Because when she was little, she said that she was just 7 or 8. Because my grandma have to work 6 jobs, and then my granddad, so they both left house like 5 o'clock in the morning. And she told me that her older sister's job is get up, take all the laundry to the river and clean it. Her job is to get all the kids up and get them change clothes and everything, and wash them, get ready to school. They don't have a breakfast because of the poverty in the country at that time. So she remembered that she just have some water in the morning before going to school, and they don't have shoes at that time. And she has her first pair of shoes when she was maybe 7. Yeah, that's a second hand from someone else who doesn't want it, and then she just fixed it, and then she got the shoes. And I guess that upbringing she has, that she never be a child. She would never have that time to be a child. So I think I kind of understand why she always need a mission. So now I kind of have to teach her that is okay. You don't need to have a mission or anything. Like like my husband and my daughter, we all still love her. She just need to relax.
And so does your daughter, how old's your daughter?
She's 6.
6, okay.
Yeah.
So does she understand much of the Chinese languages?
No. Yeah, that's the part that I also feel sad about. When she was little, I tried to teach her Chinese, but she was so against it. She would just use the magic wand to magic me. Magic, mommy, come back. So when she is a bit older, and I actually teach her that I'm not actually from Australia, and I show her the map. So Australia's here, and I said China. This is where mommy grew up, and where I live. When I was 17, and I came to Australia to learn, to study, and I learned English when I was in China, and then I come to Australia. So I don't speak English, and English is not my first language. And I said, English is my fourth language. And I said, oh, what kind of language do you speak? And I told her I speak this and that. And said, oh, wow. And I just told her that your grandmom and your mom both from China, so we don't speak, like grandmom's generation hasn't got the chance to practice English, so she can't speak English. It's very hard for her. So it's kind of slowly teaching her the concept of where we are from. And then she now she doesn't magic me anymore. She will say China, and then she got Australia. But I still kind of teaching her how to speak a language that is respectful for people, because sometimes it's your country, and I said, maybe let's not use the language like that. I think it definitely, like when kids are at their early stage of development, it's a good way to actually introduce them about culture inclusiveness. And I think that's always in my husband and then my mind, that we will take her to travel to a place that has a lot of cultures and very busy, and then we will teach her things, how to kind of talk to people with the manners. So I think maybe in Chinese culture there are some good things in that. I think to me, when I talk to older people or more senior people, I probably will kind of use a more respectful way to talk and a different language. And then that means that when I come to Australia, when I talk to people, it's always in my mind, in a way that you use a very cautious, respectful way to talk to people. And I think that's just some of the stuff I feel like it's how to use the words, kind of interchangeable kind of skills. So I think, with my daughter, I want her to be that kind of an open-minded, inclusive person as well. And recently we're talking about rainbow people, and I said, oh, what's a rainbow? And because one of my friends in China, she's transgender, and then so when my daughter saw the TV, she would say, oh, why that person speak like this? And I said, well, there are people like that. We call them rainbow people. And I said, oh, what is a rainbow people? So I start to tell her the story about my friend, and I said, doesn't change my love to my friend, because she's still my friend, but because she feel her body is not like the way that she wanted, because she always think that she's a girl, but then she come up as a boy, so she doesn't want this. She wants something actually she feel she can match to, and so she become a rainbow people, and she become a girl, and then she has a new name. Oh, okay. So now she got ideas like rainbow people will maybe like this, so she's not against them. So I think that's, so recently we talk about rainbow people, and then helping her to understand what that means, and to respect other people's choices, and that is okay. And then you don't have to agree with everything, but you can respect them.